Hi ladies! I did the Levine Protocol for a month and a half to try achieve POTS remission. If you don't know, the Levine Protocol is a specific, intense workout regime designed to put POTS into remission. It does this by enlarging the heart and helping it beat more efficiently, as well as building muscles that help blood return to the heart when you're standing. I'm going to tell you how my try of the Levine Protocol went, so hopefully you can tell if it's worthwhile or realistic for you to give a try. This is just my personal experience and not medical advice. Based on a small study called the International POTS Registry, the Levine Protocol takes 3 months to achieve POTS remission. It needs to be maintained after that to keep the remission, but for the 103 people who actually completed the Levine Protocol for that 3-month window, 71% of them no longer qualified for a POTS diagnosis, and that is incredibly promising, which is why I really want to talk about this and shed some light on the Levine Protocol. But before we begin, since starting the Levine Protocol and talking with some of you lovely ladies on the Facebook support groups for POTS, I have learned about common comorbidities that occur with POTS and can cause problems with the Levine Protocol, which I'm going to talk about first quickly. The first one is hypermobility spectrum disorders, as well as hypermobile Elhers-Danlos Syndrome. Good news is the Levine Protocol can be adapted for people with this condition, but my basic understanding is no rowing, just cycling instead because it's a lot gentler on the joints and you can still hit the heart rate targets, and probably no weightlifting. I'm still learning about this myself because, as it turns out, I'm hypermobile and I didn't know about it when I started the Levine Protocol. Classic look is the elbow bending too far backwards there, apparently. Normal elbows are meant to look something like that, and that feels like it's all the way back for me. Always felt normal, it doesn't feel like it's hyperextending, which is quite common. Before starting the Levine Protocol, I wish I had looked up the Baton scoring system and actually taken photos of my elbows and my knees. And you can grab your phone, you can draw some lines using the ruler overlay and actually calculate the exact degree angle of your arms and legs to do the Baton scoring system yourself. I didn't do it that thoroughly, and it's something I regret because I actually ended up injuring my joints doing the Levine Protocol, which I'll talk a bit more about later. I ended up having my assessment done by an Elhers-Danlos Syndrome specialist at a place called bio.com.au. They do remote assessments. They are highly competent and knowledgeable. I really recommend them. So, the next condition. I know I mentioned hypermobile Elhers-Danlos Syndrome already, but there's 12 other kinds of Elhers-Danlos syndromes, and they're all rather different, but they would probably impact how you would do the Levine Protocol. Because Elhers-Danlos Syndrome is so common as a comorbidity with POTS, it's really important to familiarize yourself with the basic 13 types to just get a general idea of if there's any red flags for you and your symptoms. The last common comorbidity that I think is important to mention is post-exertion malaise. I have been told again and again by ladies in the Facebook groups that exercise is terrible for post-exertion malaise. And having looked over some conflicting research myself, I think I trust their assessment. So, now that I have the very important caveats of common comorbidities with POTS out of the way, how did I go when I did the Levine Protocol? After just a month and a half of trying the Levine Protocol and taking 4 thiamine tablets a day, and I think they're 250 micrograms of thiamine, my POTS symptoms were barely noticeable. I was hardly out of breath, and my heart rate while standing was sitting between 80 to 90 BPM. It did not go over 100 BPM, that's incredible. I still felt really bad POTS symptoms when I bent over. I also have a condition called orthostatic intolerance. My overall quality of life improved drastically. Even my chronic fatigue just went away. So I was doing amazing. I don't think I would have met the diagnostic criteria for POTS anymore, which that's phenomenal in terms of like standing up and having the heart rate. Like, it just wasn't there, it wasn't happening. And with all these improvements, I was only hitting 75% of my maximum heart rate targets. So I didn't even hit the high heart rate targets that you're meant to with the protocol. What this means is it's very realistic and achievable and approachable. I will note it is a very big time commitment. It takes between 1 hour to 2 hours every second day. For the first 3 months, I think it's closer to maybe 45 minutes, and that's including time to get changed beforehand, warm up, exercise, cool down, have a shower, rehydrate, and just like maybe lie in recovery for 5 minutes while your autonomic nervous system settles. So that's initially, and then later on I think you're meant to get the actual workout portion from 25 minutes up to 60 minutes or potentially longer. I can't remember off the top of my head. So later on, when you're done in the habit, after maybe month 3 or month 4, you're probably going to be expecting a 2-hour every second day time commitment, which is very big. But if you can manage that, the quality of life improvements have, for me personally, they've been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I'm still, even 2 months later, I'm still so excited about it. And this can be life-changing for people who don't know about the Levine Protocol and have POTS and have the capacity and the time and the energy to do this. I want to yell about it from the rooftops because it's made such a big difference. And in that study, 71% is a big number. Now, you might have noticed that I have talked about my remission with POTS from the Levine Protocol in past tense, and that's because I stopped doing the Levine Protocol 2 months ago. Why did I do this? As I mentioned earlier, I discovered I'm hypermobile, which I didn't know previously. So I stopped the protocol because I was hyperextending my joints without realizing it. That stretched out the joints and caused injury, and it also led to the joints dislocating very easily. I dislocated my wrist changing a fitted mattress cover. My POTS is definitely back. It wasn't terribly bad, it was much more manageable. It's sort of come back slowly on a ramp and then plateaued for a long time. And then we came down with COVID for the last 3 weeks. You might notice my voice is still a bit croaky. We're not fully better yet, and my POTS has been on steroids at the moment. I'm definitely having a flare-up, so it'll be 150 BPM when I stand. So that has been difficult, but we know that viruses can cause POTS flare-ups. The next question you may have is why I haven't started the Levine Protocol again, because if I am talking about how successful it is, then the main thing would be, well, if it's that successful, why wouldn't you do it again? Especially if you're having POTS come back. And my answer is that we don't know what kind of Elhers-Danlos Syndrome I have, which is why I have to wait. When I saw the specialist, I had a bit of a nasty shock, which is I met the diagnostic criteria for hypermobile Elhers-Danlos Syndrome. However, I need to do a genetic test to rule out classical Elhers-Danlos Syndrome and, unfortunately, vascular Elhers-Danlos Syndrome. I'm going to wait until I get the results back from a genetic test, and then I'm going to assess how I can resume the Levine Protocol, or if I can resume it. Despite it turning out that I have some form of Elhers-Danlos Syndrome, I still want to promote this Levine Protocol because 71% chance that someone who tries it with POTS and completes it goes into full remission. That's a huge chance. Imagine having that chance of winning if you got a lotto ticket. You would buy the lotto ticket, wouldn't you? We're all a community here, so if you have any tips or information you'd like to share in the comments, please do. Even if it might not help me specifically, it could help someone else watching this video, and I think it's really important that we all put our heads together to help each other out and talk about things that have helped us and that have worked for us, and things that haven't worked for us that might save other ladies time trying to figure out fixes for their condition. It's such a debilitating condition to have. I think we can put our heads together and find ways to improve our quality of life. Thank you for watching and for following my journey. I hope this helps you in some way. I'm wishing you all the best. Bye.